Well, welcome to the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. It is the show that everybody thought was killed off. Can I just say something? And this is not prepared, but, you know, the amount of messages and love and warmth and everybody who's messaged me, and no doubt Joe and Jimmy, and obviously the king, the postman, he can't be here today because obviously he sailed off into the sunset.
There's no here today. He's not coming back, Mick. That's official. I think he's not coming back to the full 80.
Surprise.
Well,
unless he brings us bacon butties.
We'll never say never, but, you know, I'm led to believe Craig's still going to do Inside the Deals, and he's still going to do other content. So he's going to join me for a couple of games when we get round to doing the commentaries. So yeah, you've not seen or heard the last of me and Craig and Joe and Jimmy. You know, I think he was quite nail on the head with
100%.
how he feels on his point of view. You know, these are not glaring, but there is ever so slightly that conflict of interest, and you know, when it affects the Show Me the Money agency side of things, obviously he has to put his business first. But yes, we're back. We've had 2 or 3 weeks off. He's actually outside. He's actually outside here.
Worst look I've ever seen that.
He's working out with a dog. So, but yeah, he sends his love. Does Craig? So we had the last, or what was people thought was the time to say goodbye. The last show. It was, you know, for Craig, and then that was on the Monday, and then on the Thursday it was to Huddersfield for the big IMG announcement with the RFL, with the 5 pillars, the grading announcement, and since then the story has developed quite considerably, for better for worse, depending on which side of the argument you're in. So I'll try just quickly and take you to that Thursday, and from my own experience as somebody who was there, you know, you get there and the mood was. It was upbeat. It genuinely did feel, you know, that everybody was broadly supported. I will say broadly supportive because obviously Cowie and Ryan from the Keighley Cougars, they'd obviously made their mind up before the meeting. They'd handed everybody out a 50-page booklet document with a lot of data and analysis explaining why they're against it.
Right.
They support promotion and relegation. They want promotion and relegation to continue. They want it to be 2 up, 2 down. They want the Championship and the Super League to be intrinsically linked, so everything is a lot more fairer, and there's no real financial burden, financial pain for the clubs that are relegated from the Super League into the Championship, and vice versa. So they were obviously against it. The majority of the clubs who I spoke to when they were coming out were of the opinion, it sounds good, but you know, the devil's in the detail. We've literally been only here 2.5 hours, you know, showing the slides. You know, there's a lot more in-depth analysis that we need to do. So,
and was every club given a document by AMG?
Yes,
as well?
yes, it's a
as big
handbook.
as the Keighley one,
on the not on the day, but the clubs have since been sent the handbook with everything. So similar to the media, we were shown the slides, and I'm not sure if you've listened to the interview, but after the clubs have obviously been in with Rodri, Tony, who's now the new CEO of the RFL, and Matt Dwyer from IMG, we've obviously then had an hour and a half long media session with those people. And I'll be honest, this is speaking from myself here now, Jimmy, you know, you go in and you speak and you get told about the point system. So, you know, you're getting 5 points, 25% for performance, 25% for fan base, 25% for finances, and then you've got 15% stadium, 10% catchment. And you're going through the little pointers and we're asking the questions. And I'll be honest, I did leave Huddersfield, you know, a little bit upbeat, you know, that this could be changed. Yeah. I did ask the question when we did the interview about the Academies, and we'll go on to the Academies and junior development a little bit later on. And, you know, Tony Sutton said, yes, it's weighted, you know. Also, and I asked the question specifically from a Championship point of view, from a Bradford, Newcastle, London angle. if they're going to put 6 figures in on a year-on-year basis, you know, they should be rewarded for that. And Tony said, yes, it'll be weighted in the minimum criteria. And at the time, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, at least they're getting rewarded for having an academy.
Yeah.
And it's only sort of like after the meeting, when the dust has settled and people have started to actually comb through, that there's definitely uncharted waters where, you know, like, for instance, we've got Keighley, who are going to not back it. You know, you've got Batley who aren't going to back it, Dewsbury aren't going to back it, Featherstone aren't going to back it.
And is this official? Have these clubs come out and said, we're not going to back it?
Yes. I mean, Batley are in League Express today on page 3, Jimmy. Right.
So they've all had time to go through the details.
So look, Batley chairman rejects IMG. So look, you've got
key element. You do
Kevin.
Key element
doesn't matter, but Kevin says he won't be voting for it. So you know, you've got Doncaster, Carl Hall needing more information. You've got Newcastle, Chris Foreman. We need more information.
So the information we've been given, all the details. Some still are saying that we need more.
Yeah, because what they're saying, what the clubs on Wednesday just gone. So I'll try and take you back to the Thursday. So the key date is April the 19th. That is when the clubs are supposed to vote on the proposal.
Yeah.
There's this consultation process which is ongoing between last Thursday and the 19th.
Yeah.
So we know that the clubs had their first consultation process Wednesday last week. And as always is the case in Rugby League, whether or not the RFL tell the clubs, you know, don't leak to the media, guess what happens? Clubs come off that call, my phone, and it'll be the same for your Aaron Bowers and your Matt Shaws and your Ross Eppenstalls, you know, your Dave Cravens. The clubs will be leaking and they'll be talking to the media. And rightly so, you know, if they trust us with their feelings and they're conveying their thoughts on it all. But what I picked up from the Wednesday meeting, the consultation, was a lot of the clubs are like, you know, this isn't for us. You know, this is just protecting the elite. You know, they've asked us a very specific question, a number of clubs, to Matt Dwyer from IMG. Can you tell us now who the current 12 are? Matt, no, we can't. Matt knows who the 12 are, and the current 12 that are in Super League are the 12 that will remain in Super League because of things like performance being heavily weighted.
This is for next season.
Yes. So you can understand the Championship and League One clubs. They've been sold this, we'll all improve together. But they're like thinking...
Just quickly. The current 12 teams who are in Super League, people suspect that... So even if Bradford Bulls win the grand final and get promoted into Super League, they're saying that immediately there won't be.
Yes. Whoever get...
So you're saying, so the feeling is that this season, the championship fight, which is absolutely amazing, shaping up brilliantly, for who's going to get promotion,
correct,
it could just be totally pointless.
Yes, I will make a bold prediction on this show. Whoever gets promoted and replaces Wakefield, who I suspect are done and toast and going down, will go in for a year. The grading comes in and they will be straight
so
back
they will
out.
have a year.
They're
So this is
2025.
Yes.
We're talking about...
They'll have one sole year in the Super League.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the suspicions is the 12 teams currently in Super League will be the 12 teams in 2025 in the Super League. And whoever gets promoted will just have 1 year.
Yes.
I disagree with that.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a bold call that whoever goes up this year will come out the following year.
Right.
Should we get into the debate of the what? So for viewers, we should have filmed it really. We've had a 30-minute.
No, I'm trying to take people on the journey here. So they've had the consultation on Wednesday, and there's a whole host of issues with the IMG proposals, which obviously clubs are being. Look, people will look at this and think, well, you know, this club is looking at it from a selfish point of view, and like Kevin's quite rightly said here, you know, I'll just read a little bit here from what Kevin's put. You know, he's put, look, my interest in rugby league and the sport itself, and personally Batley, you know, is getting to Super League is not that important to it all. So what Kevin's saying is, he probably realised Batley are never going to be at an A club.
Yeah.
But what Kevin says is, in the statement, is he believes in the fairness of it all, and he's saying that the current proposals are not fair. And this is what the point is. A number of clubs are actually looking now, combing through the proposals And that, you know, you can call it nitpicking, but this is a seismic moment for the sport, because if this gets voted through, you know, this is how the sport is going to be run for the foreseeable. You know, we've had the farce with licensing. You know, we've had the framing the future document. You know, we've had all this minimum standards before, which has been poorly implemented, you know, by the RFL. They might not like that, but fundamentally, you know, allowing Wakefield to stay in Super League with the stadium they've got, allowing Castleford to stay in Super League with the stadium we've got. I know we are very West Yorkshire based here, and, you know, some of the comments I've picked up from a lot of, you know, Lancashire based fans are probably quite right in pointing the finger. You know, a lot of West Yorkshire clubs playing in these dilapidated, antiquated stadiums, you know, through no fault of their own, you know, like Wakefield when they got promoted in 98. You know, I remember the statement, we are going to build a new stadium. Here we are, you know, some 25 years later, with Wakefield still stuck in the past. But each club is quite rightly, Jimmy, and you know this because rugby league is very parochial and we know it's full of self-interest and self-servants.
You might know this as well.
Each club...
Done it again.
But no, anybody knows. The clubs are going to look at this, what's benefiting my club. Yeah. So the reason you're not getting too much backlash from the Super League clubs is because they're all very cosy, and obviously they'll have spoken to IMG and you know, I got criticised a little bit, saying, oh, you're a very brave man, Mick, but I reread the letter from Ian Lenihan in 2018. So I looked at the letter of what Ian Lenihan wrote in 2018, which basically was a big, massive FU to Championship and League One. We want to abolish promotion and relegation. We want to protect the Super League. We want to keep all the money in Super League. When you look at Ian Lenihan's letter in 2018, which caused outrage, and obviously it led to the big vote at Salford, and obviously Robert Elston and the disastrous years with what happened there, there's 60-70% of what's in that letter in these IMG proposals. So what we have now is history playing itself out again. We've got the Championship and League One clubs. Some Championship and League One clubs will vote for this. I suspect a lot are going to vote against it. And all this does is just paint a picture of a fractured sport. I mean, I love rugby league, you love rugby league, and I guess I'm probably more on the ground than most in that, you know, I've been there in the Super League years, I've been there in the League One years, I've been there in the Championship years now. Look at the Championship results this weekend, absolutely amazing. By the way, if you're watching this, there is a Championship preview and review show that we're doing as well. But fundamentally, what appears to be happening now is the clubs are combing it, and they probably are looking at it, you know, with that sort of self-reflective eye. You know, how is this affecting us? Yeah. But like Kevin has quite rightly said, this is not fair. You know, you've got someone like Kevin Nichols who's done so much for the sport of rugby league, somebody who I've got a lot of respect for. His opinion, you know, it's perfectly valid, and he's saying it's not fair.
And should we talk about now, like the main aspect of what people have got a beef with is the 25% weighting to on-field performance.
Jimmy, that's just one of the beefs. That's just one of the beefs.
But it sounds like it is the biggest one. I'd
probably say the Academies and Junior. What I'm picking up is from a number of clubs. You've got Huddersfield, who, like I say, spoke to Richard Fulis. He agrees that should be in there.
Well, let's comb through it then. Let's comb through what we went through. Like I said pre-show, we went through the big one.
Performance.
I'm going to quote you, Mick. You went Keith Lee, who come top of League One last year. It's farce that they would be voted. So how many points? 1 point.
No. Nobody would be voting, Joe. What I'm saying
that little bit they will be given 1.8
to try and explain the dynamics of how these grading and pillars work is you've got performance, which is the only pillar. So finance, you've got the Super League clubs all in a table, the Championship clubs all in a table, League One clubs all in a table. On fan base, the same. Super League clubs in their own table, Championship in their own table, League One all in their own table. Same with stadium, same with catchment.
So in those categories,
the only one that has a table from 1 to 36 is performance. And the point I was trying to make pre-show was, and you can say I'm mad as a hatter, but I just think I use Keithley as an example. If Keithley and the performance was literally Super League 1 to 12, Championship 1 to 14, League 1 1 to 10 or 11, I think it was last season. Keighley, obviously, unbeaten. They would come top. They should be given maximum points for that fantastic season. But because they're now placed in this table of 36, you can have Super League clubs who don't win any games getting nearly double the points what a Keighley would get, who have gone the season undefeated. And I get your point, Joe. Yeah, but they're a League One club, But this is fundamentally flawed and fundamentally wrong. Well, performance should have, similar to the finance, similar to the stadium, similar to the fan base, you should have your Super League 1 to 12.
Well,
No, so that's the bit there where we had the argument, wasn't it? Because I don't think Keighley brilliant. It's not a diss against Keighley's amazing.
No, Joe, you're getting caught up, in my opinion, in this. Everything needs to be grouped. Everything needs to be in a big table. Well, if you can't have all these different parameters. To me, performance is grouped.
No, why should it be grouped?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Because you invest money into League One, the chances are you're winning it or you're coming top 2.
No. Forget about investing money. I'm just saying, if you're trying to sell this and get the clubs to buy into it, you have performance 1 to 36 and the point table accordingly. Why is it then finance? Why is it that fan base, it all splits up into these different things? Because they know that by having performance 1 to 36, the current Super League clubs who've been there, they get the extra points and they maintain their position and place in that top
But the
position.
issue we are, I don't
flawed,
want to speak
Joe.
completely for no. The
It's
issue.
flawed.
Let me speak, Mick.
Let
You're not
me speak,
let
yeah.
anyone else speak.
Sorry.
The issue that I think me and Jimmy comb through, and you'll be able to. You had an extra bit that were very good, but the bit I had, my main thing was that you said the bottom of Super League gets one more point on average than the top of Championship, and that's the bit I am completely with you, Mick. I completely agree.
Correct.
That
Because
bit's
it's
wrong.
over 3 years.
But I think the viewers need to understand that because you've
No,
not
they already
explained
know it. The viewers will understand it.
No,
I don't think they'll.
90% of them won't. A few of the
We didn't know it till before.
I
the show.
didn't know.
As I tried to explain, this is done over a 3-year period. So,
But
for
Mick,
instance,
We're on about
can
the
you
points.
explain that to
Yeah,
the
the
viewers?
points.
I've explained it. So, for instance,
not.
like I said,
The point.
I've just
No,
said.
I'm saying
Keith-
Points,
Keith-
but Mick.
The points.
Right, let
The
me
points.
just say it.
Keighley finished top of League One.
No, that's
Hold on.
that's not
Wait.
the argument. So what did we
Let
say?
me just say
we
this.
Said,
Right,
we said,
it'll help. Right. So the bit that Joe's saying to explain is that the actual point system. So it's out of 5. So the top Super League performers of the last 3 years, including this year, can get a maximum of 5 points. It might be,
Correct.
For example, St. Helens might get 4.9 for being consistently very, very good for the last few years. Now, that might mean that someone like Huddersfield might get 4 or 3.9, let's say.
Remember, it's over the 3-year average.
It's over the 3 years. So what we were saying is that I've no issue personally with the clubs being rated in a scale of 1 to 36. As long as the gap between the bottom of Super League and the very top of Championship is non-existent or very small.
Yeah.
For example, like we said, last year, Lee couldn't have done any more performance-wise in their league. We, as viewers of Rugby League, the general consensus was that Lee were better than a couple of the Super League teams last year. So it would be very hard to say that Lee can only get 2 points.
I think you need to say that, innit? That
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. It's very. Hold on.
Let me just hold on. If they're in the wrong.
Let me just explain it, right? So I'm trying to explain it for the viewers. Lee's maximum points last year was 2, whereas from what you've said,
It's more than
so
2, Jimmy.
What
2 points.
what does the top Championship side get over the 3 years?
maximum
What you
points.
said the maximum.
Well, it
is?
depends because there's other parameters like you'll get 0.1 or 0.25 for the 1895 Cup, so you can pick up extra if you win the grand final. You get 0.25. So they use those little extras.
What's the top? What is the top? You win everything.
how
Your
many
top-
points did Lee get for last year under the current thing? What
Under
would
the
they?
current
Would
thing,
they?
what's
They
the
would
top?
have got
With the top
significantly less
in
than.
the 1895.
No, how many points would Lee have got
Lee-
compared
Lee-
to Wakefield for last year's performance?
you
on the
said,
field?
Mick,
Yeah,
You said-
Lee would have got less than the bottom Super League club.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but you said
But you
numbers.
need to understand that is just 1 year in isolation.
Wait, you said in numbers the top Championship side gets something like 2.6. I don't want to quote the exact number, but it was
over a 3-year period, it will equate to a point difference.
Yeah, that's
not a
season.
Shocking, not a season, Joe. Over a 3-year period, if a club was to finish top and they were to finish bottom and lose every game, don't forget, a Super League club could lose every game under this grading. Because they're in the Super League, they will still get more than the top team in the Championship.
That's the shocking bit. So that means a team like Featherstone, who have come top 1 or 2 for 3 years in a row now. Well, I guess maybe not
because
after the
it's
weekend's
the 3-year
result,
average.
they've got a chance.
It's the 3-year average that.
Yeah.
So going back to my point, then,
on the season, Jimmy.
Yeah, I've no issue with the 1 to 36 rating as long as teams who come top of Championship are not a big gap behind the Super League bottom end, because you feel that there is not an awful lot of difference, if any. Now, again, this is not as significant if the performance on field wasn't being rated at 25%. So I think what we all said before the show was we can live with this because obviously
this is the
on-field performance, the Super League teams generally are significantly ahead of Championship teams. And they're bound to be because of the money they get and the money they invest. But it seems that if it wasn't rated at 25%, people would be happier. The fact that on-field performance, which some clubs have very little control of because they're in a certain league, whereas with Stadium, a League One team could get as many points as a Super League team. Catchment area, they can't control that. But attendances, they can get as many points as a Super League team. But they've not got any control over this except for where they finish within their respective league. So if the on-field performance category was 15% rather than 25%, it sounds to me like a lot of the Championship clubs and League One clubs who've got an issue with this probably wouldn't have such an issue. It's a fact it's been weighted so heavily.
Correct.
And it favours the
Super 12, yeah.
You could even frame that a bit different. You could even argue that they wouldn't have a big issue if it was Mick's way. They wouldn't moan at the 25% if Keighley. I think the issue probably, for me, especially, is that Super League's bottom 2 or 3 should be judged against Championships 2 or 3. Like Featherstone, Wakefield have come bottom 2, I don't want to say for the last 3 years, but they've been around the bottom 3 for the last. That should be judged against the Featherstone and Leeds, and arguably the Featherstone and the Leeds, for consistency at being on the top every year, should be viewed higher than or the same as the.
So for attendances, and this is what I want to try and get to the listeners. So for attendances, for instance, the Championship, the most you can get is 5. So Super League clubs, they're in that group of 1 to 12, going from 5 all the way down to 0, based on crowds, engagement, our league numbers, digital, social media, website hits. That's what's in the fan base. So performance, and that's the same for the Championship and same for League One. A League One club can get 5, but a League One club cannot get 5 on performance, because even when you win all the games like Keighley, you hit the ceiling, and that is fundamentally how the Super League clubs have got the advantage. And how this has been sneaked in, I don't know, but this is a bone of contention, and this is what I'm saying. If the pillars were all the same and they were all symmetric and all the clubs had a fair crack, which is what Kevin, Mark Sawyer, Mark Campbell, Cowie and Ryan at Keighley, the rest of the people who are not happy with the current lie of the land.
I need to ask this for Mick. So in those, let's take attendances again. So these are being marked relatively to your league. So yeah. So in Super League, Leeds Rhinos, averaging at 14,000 for 3 years, get 5, let's say.
Leeds will be up there.
Yeah, so let's say they get 5. Does that mean that Cornwall in League One, who've averaged at 1,000 and done pretty well, or, not far off, I know you're saying they can get a 5, but will they still only get a 1 because it's 1,000 and not 14,000? Or are they going to get 4.5 because they're in the top 3 supported teams in League One?
Well, as you'll see with like the grading system, if they have the website hits, if they have, because the crowd is not, the crowd figure.
It's not the full picture, yeah.
It's only 2.5 points for crowds. So if Cornwall, for instance, have the highest crowd in League One, they'll get 2.5. And then it slides down. But then there's the additional add-ons which make up the other 2.5, which come from digital, when you're on TV, how many people.
So I suppose I'm playing devil's advocate here. What you're saying is, we're saying it's unfair for Championship and League One teams to be graded against Super League teams. But you would argue then, if you're Castleford Tigers getting 8,000, but you only get two, how on earth can a team in League One get like Doncaster getting 800 potentially get 3.5?
You've just explained.
Well,
I'll just carry
on. I
from
don't think
Jim.
Doncaster would get 3.5.
But you're being nitpicky.
I'm not nitpicking, because the Super League clubs get far more greater social media hits, and they're on Sky more.
But they're judged against their own league.
Don't get hope. No.
That's what you've just said, though.
No, because you can't be giving clubs a point for TV numbers when they're not on TV. They won't get that point. It favours.
But what I'm saying is,
exactly, but they're judged against. But
are Salford only going to get only going to get one because compared to Leeds they're miles off, or are they still going to get perhaps 4 because compared to Championship and League One they're way ahead?
Let me just try to work out Salford just quickly, Jimmy. You'd say Salford, they're in the lower end of the Super League for crowds, along with Wakefield, so they'll be picking up very low points there. So let's say at 2.5 in their table of 12, they'll probably get maybe 0.8 to 1. They'll then probably pick up, because they got to the grand final in 2019, which will be in this same sort of review period. They were in the Challenge Cup final in 2020. Those get big numbers. I don't know Salford's Hour League subscriptions in terms of the Hour League app. But
ultimately, what I'm saying
Salford
is,
would get
right. So ultimately, what I'm saying,
3.5.
So what I'm saying is, a team in League One or the Championship can score higher than a Super League team in that category.
No.
Oh, you don't think we can?
No, because Cornwall, no offence to Cornwall, when it comes to social media numbers, when it comes to website hits, they will not be anywhere near the Super League, so they will not score anywhere near Jimmy. And attendances, fan base, fandom as it's called, is 5. Only 2.5 is fractional attendances.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I know the point you're trying to make. Well, if they're all in a table, but that'd be scary for the Super League clubs, because clubs like Bradford, who average more than Wakefield, you'd have the Championship clubs like Widnes as well. You'd have them up against some current Super League clubs.
I agree with that. So what we've found is IMG's way of giving Super League a bit of a boost for being in Super League, for differentiating, because Doncaster will score high on a lot of the stuff, won't they? And Cornwall for attendances. But if they're matched up against Salford, let's pick Wakefield, their scores could be similar, because it's done by, you're saying it's done by league.
No.
So explain how it's not done by leagues then.
Because
you're getting caught up in Cornwall have got great crowds. They're going to get 5. They're going to get nowhere near that.
I'm getting caught up in what you've said, Mick. I'm nitpicking what you've said here.
Yeah.
You've said that each team gets graded within their league.
Yes, correct. That is the only one.
Performance
is the only one where everyone's in a big table.
Exactly. So that's what they've done.
Which people are disagreeing with, because everything else is in its own separate league.
They've done that to give Super League a differential, so Wakefield don't end up on the same points as a top performing Doncaster or Huddersfield or somewhere in League One.
I think it's fundamentally wrong. You can be in Super League like Wakefield, and I'll use Wakefield as an example. They've been in the relegation. They've been in the relegation battle for a number of years.
You're not answering why. So let's just do it. So who would be the top? Off the top of your head,
well, you've got Leeds Rhinos.
No, not. I mean, the
League.
top League One. Who would be? I'm going to pick a bottom Super League and take out the performance. Let's do a bottom Super League and a top League One, and then that's what I'm saying. If they end up on similar points, that's why they've done the performance.
Keighley from last year with what they were doing fans wise, So Keighley last year, how many points they would get in that section?
This is dangerous because this is all subjective. We We've got to let people know we're only guessing here.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I thought you were pretty much certain about what.
Oh, no. You can't. I cannot sit here and say Keighley would have got this because the clubs don't even know what they would have got.
Oh.
This is what I'm trying to say to you, mate. This is what I'm trying to say to you. You know, they're asking for clarity, which is why they wanted to know who the current 12 are. IMG are not releasing that information because the club suspect, as I said at the start, they know who.
I'm arguing, Mick, that that's their way of differentiating the good performing Super League sides over a League One.
But you're not though, Joe, because you're giving a current Super
let
League
me
club
explain.
who's been in there
Let
3
me
years,
explain.
struggling
You're
in a
saying-
relegation battle, more points than a club that might have been going up the system like a York City Knights or a Toulouse.
Mick, just let me finish. Let me go through it all and then say why I'm wrong. But you've got to let me explain and then say I'm an idiot, please. But
I'm not saying you're an idiot, Joe.
But whatever you're saying, you're diving in and not letting me make my point and then saying why. Let me make my point and then just say, yeah, you're wrong here, there. But I'm saying, so if each other grading point other than performance, take out performance from my equation here. So we've got finances,
Fandom.
off the top of my head, finances, fandom. What's the other one for the correct?
Catchment
area, stadium. So you've got all these different ones. Take out performance. That's done within each league. So if it's done within the league? So let's say again, Keighley is a perfect example. Keighley would have scored top on every single one of them, probably close in League One, which means from what I picked up on what you're saying, and this is the bit where I might be wrong, they'd be scoring 4 or 5s in them points.
No, they wouldn't.
That's okay.
They wouldn't
because
for attendances, you see, it's only 2.5. So whilst Keighley were the best supported club in League One, they would be let down on all the other factors. If you were getting 5 for being the best supported club, then for instance, Bradford would get 5 from the Championship. Keighley would get 5 from League One. But because that is only 2.5 points of the 5. And
what
the
else
others
is in the
are
5?
on the digital, the social media
digital
numbers.
website,
And
yes, but Keighley would have also been top in digital in League One.
No, they wouldn't, Joe.
They'd be up there.
No,
so
because
they
the
would
digital, because the
Is
digital
the digital scored against everyone else, or
no,
within
because
the league again?
it's based on TV. So if you need to listen to the interview I did with Rodri and Tony. Clubs get the extra point from like the digital, the TV viewership for how many viewers they bring to the TV. So
But
I asked him.
Keighley in League One, when they were put on our league, would have beat probably most of the other League One sides, which means they would have scored top.
Joe, I don't think you realise how many people actually watch those streams. You're
But
talking,
but
still relative to
but it's still relative
no, I
to
agree.
League One.
I agree, Jimmy. But what I'm saying is, they're only giving that point for if you're on like the television, like on Sky Sports.
Yeah, but that means then that you're saying then that 2.5 of the 5 is
The
relative
maximum
to the
any
league,
League One team can
but then
get,
the
then.
other 2.5 is relative to every club in every division.
Correct, because what they're saying is they need to reward.
Well, that's totally different.
But if you listen to the interview,
So I shouldn't jump there.
you should have listened to the interview. If you listen to the interview,
Not
Tony and
excited.
Rodri explain all this. They explain it all.
Yeah, but
Because I asked the question.
most of the viewers would have not watched your interview.
No, they have. I
No,
think a lot
your
of
fans
people
would have. No, I know 50 of my. I get 30 people of my mates. who
Look,
watch
I know
it
what you're
who have
doing, Joe.
guaranteed-
You're trying to stick up for the Super League clubs.
No, I'm not. Listen, no, I haven't at all. I'm saying I know at least 40 people. No offence, that wouldn't have had to listen to your thing, and not against you, but just wouldn't have listened
Well, that's
to
fine. It's been well documented in the media.
But that's what this show's for, to explain to
yeah,
you.
and as I'm trying to explain, I
You're
asked
not
the
explaining
question.
very well. That's what I'm saying.
But I am
I
explaining
don't know. I
it
think
well.
ultimately, let's just leave it as we still don't know all the ins and outs. One last question, if you know.
We haven't even got to the academies. Okay,
No, well,
you
just
get points
on
for a big
this-
screen
this
and
is-
LED, but not for an academy.
I
Yeah,
agree, that's
but
horrendous,
the academy. The academy is all about. It's in the minimum standards of getting an A license. So the worry with if you want an A license and you want to guarantee to get in that top flight, you have to have an academy. At the moment, there's nowhere near enough A licenses to make a top division. So I view it as being there's so many Bs that clubs are gonna be able to not have an academy and still get in the top division. That's the scary thing with that. But my last question is on stadium, because this is something I'm very interested in.
Well, I disagree with your statement. You've made a statement. No club in no team in
We're as
Tier A
polarised as the clubs at the meeting.
will be in Super League. There's only League in Super League that don't have League Catalans and Toulouse that will be in it without.
What I need to clarify is the academy is part of. If you want an A, you have to have an academy. Yeah, that's one of the aspects. So,
but no one they won't chuck a B into Super League if they don't have an academy apart from maybe Lee and who's already in it.
But they might have to, because there's not going to be enough guaranteed A's to fill the spots. So
there will still be Toulouse, Lee.
No, there's not going to be enough.
Word on the
A's.
street is there's 5 A's.
There's only 5 A's.
Yeah, but they'll fill it up with the B's that have the academy.
So the 7 B's.
No, that's
7 B's.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that this. Let's say there's 7 positions available and there'll be B's. It might be that you don't have to have an academy to make up the numbers. That's what I'm saying. So for the time, like League this year, so that might happen, which might mean clubs think, well, actually, ideally we'd have one, but we don't need to have one because we are so good in other areas.
You're even saying that some of them who currently have it might take it away because they won't.
They could do, because there won't necessarily have to be an A to be in the top flight in the short term future.
That'd be shocking if that.
It would be scary. That's what worries me about the emphasis on academy is only to guarantee an A. It's not something you're being rated on like
against other
fandom
teams
and other things. So
that's
but stadium, Mick. I would like to see, and this is where you can help, that all clubs should be in one category for stadium.
We'll have to go back onto that, though, because that's a massive point. Also, we can't move past that.
If I don't see, stadium is so easy to assess, it's so unsubjective that why are clubs, like with performance, not being graded on stadium from 1 to 36? Because I strongly believe they should, because I think that Doncaster Stadium, and I know the Rugby League club don't technically own it, but let's just use that as a stadium that is being used as a Rugby League.
It's a fantastic facility.
I'd like to think that they should be able to score higher points than teams above them in the Championship and above them in the Super League for quality of stadium. Same with York. They should be able to get big points for stadium, and Widnes and plenty of others. But if they're only being rated against teams in their league, is that going to hamper them or is that going to benefit them?
Well, the thing with Doncaster is, and again, you get 3 points for stadium, and there's points. Do you own your stadium? Doncaster Rugby League Club don't.
So that's part
so
of
they will
the
lose
stadium.
Points.
Right.
There's you get points for occupancy. So Doncaster are going to lose a lot of points because if they average 800 and it holds 16,000, so people looking at stadium and thinking, "Oh, York LNER Stadium, 3 points. We're getting 3 points. We're not." York averaged 2,000 fans. Right. That holds 10,000. So it's only got 20% occupancy. Right. So York are going to lose a lot of points. Bradford are going to get absolutely hammered because odds are almost 20,000. And despite Bradford averaging 5,000, Bradford again, it's
really
only
at 25%.
occupancy.
And Huddersfield are in serious trouble because Galfarm.
Huddersfield Giants don't own it. Wigan don't own theirs. Hull FC don't own theirs.
But I mean, in terms of occupancy, Huddersfield are 20%.
I don't get that.
Wigan are at 50%.
Salford as well, 12,000
Why is that a rule?
They don't own it.
That sounds like the worst rule in history.
I'll tell you why, because the Sky cameras want to look.
This is why they've put the occupancy rule in there.
But then there's only.
So you need to build a small stadium.
Yeah, that's the stupidest rule, because then that's potential growth. The whole point of IMG is to grow.
But IMG
this is IMG saying,
product.
Yeah, IMG is saying you might have a 20,000, 25, like Huddersfield.
But then you're capping the growth of the sport. You're not capping the growth.
You're not capping the growth. You're encouraging the clubs to attract fans.
Sorry, you're capping it in such that if you're only having a 4,000 stadium but it's packed, it might look on TV, but then you're capping what it can grow into. I thought the whole point of IMG is to see the growth of the sport. Surely you want the big stadium, so hopefully within a couple of years they're absolutely filled.
Occupancy is just one of many components.
And it's how much
it's very small. Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm picking that out because I think that's an importantly bad rule that they put in.
This is me.
I'm giving my negatives.
That's fine. But
I
suppose what the want is, just quickly on that, is
it's for
the long-term plan will be to have rugby league stadiums for smaller clubs like York being that size. So that York's aim will be to one day fill their stadium. Leeds
then the
Rhinos
issue is all
tough.
these new clubs are after in 5 years' time. Well, not all of them. I do what my dad doesn't. But if this top flight, if it starts going well, they'll all need new stadiums within 6 or 7 years.
Every new stadium that's been built for many years now is being designed to be easily extended. So the idea is, you build a 10,000er.
But that still costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
for
it does.
clubs.
But obviously, if clubs feel that, like in football, when Newcastle felt they could add another 10,000 fans, they extend it. So that'd be the long-term plan. Like Sheffield Stadium, the Sheffield Stadium will grow as the potential for fans.
I'd rather do what WWE done then and just sell. WWE the truth is they hardly sell out stadiums. They put all the fans along,
and that's what they'll do.
Yeah, exactly. But then surely I'd want a big stadium, so hopefully one day you fill it out rather than having to spend loads on having to make
just
the
think
stadium
it like this:
bigger.
the cost of building a 40,000 stadium would be, relative to if you build a 10,000 stadium and then turn it into an 18,000 or in a 20. It'll all be they design them so you can add on the extra stand at X amount.
Yeah, but I'm saying Doncaster, they would never have to extend. I don't think even if the sport grows and it becomes as big as in NRL.
Yeah.
The maximum probably Doncaster will ever do is fill out the stadium. They'll never have to spend a penny on it.
But that's ideal then, isn't it?
That's what I'm arguing for. I'm arguing against a nice small stadium that maybe fills out.
But he's saying occupancy is only a small section.
Yeah, so maybe I'm probably...
And that is one thing I do agree with IMG in that if you're going to broadcasters, look at Huddersfield, St Helens on Thursday, 4,000 people there. It was soulless, soul-destroying. You've got... that's not even a quarter full.
But I imagine what will happen.
How do you sell the sport? Rugby League does not sell itself on the back of 4,000 people watching Huddersfield versus
But what they
St
have to do is, and I'm sure IMG will probably instigate this more, is when there is close to 5,000, for argument's sake, at that Huddersfield Saints game, they will say, for Sky and for our product, you're all going in that one stand. You'll have to move season ticket holders. The away fans will be in a section.
We'll have to do
just
WWE,
so that on the WWE on the screen it looks good, because it was a big thing when neutral sports fans turn on and the stadium looks empty. Immediately the product looks worse, and you don't feel the atmosphere unless you get to what they used to do at Old Trafford, where they used to play fake cheering through the tannoys, to create atmosphere.
Like I say, occupancy.
COVID,
I won't get het up about
and even when
occupancy, it's only a small component of them 3 points.
I just get digging.
But look, there's that many. Look, like I say, keen to stress, we are in that consultation process. I would like to think that the stuff on academies, as I've made my point very, very clear, and this is my opinion, nobody else's. I just feel if you're a club. And this could be Wakefield, Huddersfield, Castleford, Bradford, London, Newcastle. If you're going to spend, because they're all self-funding these academies now, these elite academies, since the money ran out. So the clubs have to put 6 figures in annually to fund the staff, fund the governance, fund the protocols, so the young players are safe and everything that comes with it. And I think people probably don't realise watching this show. You speak to people like Tony Smith, who was at Castleford, he's now at Leeds. Speak to people like Simon
Not the coach,
Bell.
not the Hull FC coach, Tony Smith.
No, that's what I said. Yeah. Tony was at Cass and now at Leeds. You don't understand how much paperwork and how many procedures and protocols, and safeguarding measures you actually have to, apply when running an elite academy. And I just think it's fundamentally flawed, the IMG proposals in that. And touch wood, clubs are pressing to try and get this changed, and I hope they do get it changed. Whether or not they take a point off performance or a point away from finances, clubs should be rewarded for having an academy. They should be rewarded for having a wheelchair team. They should be rewarded for having a scholarship team. They should be rewarded for having a PDRL team. And I think it's an absolute travesty that
But surely for me, the quick fix is if it's 25% for performance, that 25% should cover first team performance, PDRL performance, ladies performance, academy performance, and then automatically you're making 10% of that 25% being about academy and being about your other teams. Because every team who wants to be in the top flight, whatever it may be called, should have to have academy, PDRL, ladies.
Wheelchair.
Now, at the moment, it sounds like it's going to be to become a category A. You need that,
yes,
which is fine in the longer term. But I'm worried about these few years where teams might be able to go, well, actually, we can move that down the priority list because we know we'll still get in the top flight without them or without one of them. We don't want that. It should should be part, whether it's engulfed in the on-field performance or whether they do a separate category for it. But every team shouldn't have to be building a game with ladies, PDRL, wheelchair, ideally, but certainly academy to be a top flight team.
And like just on the point I've made on social media, and people at the RFL disagree with my stance, but how can it be right that when we had the pandemic and the World Cup, we've got people like Simon Johnson, Ralph Rimmer going to the government, look at the RFL Rugby League dividend report, read that, and how community rugby league and foundations and the junior pathways, how that's fundamentally what saved the sport during COVID times. That is why the government give us 20 million plus the rugby league grants, which have gone back to community clubs like
it wasn't
Proud,
to save
like
West
Bowling.
It was because of the community.
It's because of the community game, and that is something that Simon and Ralph have done. So for the RFL to totally ignore this all of a sudden now, and I know they haven't totally ignored it.
Say IMG
as well, but I'll take that back. Yeah,
they're not ignoring it
because Tony quite rightly says, Bradford, Newcastle, London, they're at advantage because they'll be an A club because they've got all this academy and
they
and
can
all
be
stuff.
an A club.
But it doesn't sit right with me that you can get extra points for having a big screen and LED lights, but you're not actually getting any points for an academy. Yes, you can argue about it's weighted and you'll get an A, but like you said, Jimmy, the worry is there's going to be that many clubs that are Bs all battling it out. You are going to end up with 2025. They're getting rid of the name Super League. They're going to have a top tier competition with clubs not in there. With clubs in there who don't invest in a women's team, who don't invest in junior development, and there'll be clubs outside of that who do.
Like at the moment.
I think that would be the one apart from the minor one that I mentioned about the occupancy. I guess that's nitpicky.
That is my bone. Forget about performance.
I completely agree with you.
The clubs are arguing about the performance. Mine is about the academy. We know London aren't happy. We know Bradford are keeping the powder dry. We know Newcastle aren't happy.
Well,
rightly so.
I'll go, Mick. That I'm gonna expand what you've said and go. Our issue and our players are show, and you and Dad have over the years pushed so many amazing things. So I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon and said our full 80 thing that we would say. I think we all unanimously agree on this. That has to be implemented somewhere. I'm mainly saying youth development, but obviously, the added on teams, especially for me, the youth development has to be. I think we'd all say at least strongly rewarded. I think it has to be rewarded for bringing up the future of the sport, because without it, would be the Australian B team. And no one wants that. And if you don't reward that enough, sadly, it seems like it might go that way, as Jimmy's even hinted, that some teams might just pull the plug on the youth if it's not required to be in Super League for the next couple of years to save something.
You worry it's a token gesture. I mean, I know there's always stronger academy teams than others, but some of the early results this season with academy games, you worry that teams will just run it for the sake of it to tick a box, and if it's not competitive, so they need to.
I don't mind that as much though, because for every
it's better than none, but at the same time,
and for every one of them, you get a Kai Piers Paul in London. There's one or two that they
all
bring
I'm
through
saying
every
is,
year.
as with everything, when they start to really implement it, they need to make sure that it's been done properly. Like we've always said with reserves is great in theory, but it needs to be done properly, and everyone needs to be buying into it and investing and trying to make it work. Otherwise, it's only ever going to be 20% of its potential.
I just think we can't lose that. Yeah, we can't lose that under 18 and the scholarship, the under 16. I think the reserves, like you said, people have so many opinions on the reserves. So I think we can, but we can't lose the fact that most teams have an under 18 and under 16, because it's been the foundation of the amazing sport of rugby league. It's my favourite thing about rugby league, that you get to go watch these young players come through. And it's not like football where you watch a full team and one of them has got a 10% chance of making it. These, like, you're watching the future of the sport, and without that, we'll just have an Australian B team and it'd be horrendous.
And I want to make this point now about those people like Matt Dwyer from IMG, who foolishly said, in my opinion, well, we can't reward academies and junior development because not every Super League club has got an academy. Again, Matt did an interview and John Keir quite rightly laid into him, in my opinion. John said, well, how are you rewarding Newcastle, Bradford, London, when they're, John's at Widnes who, painfully had to get rid of their academy, but, once upon a time, I think Keenan Brand and those type of players were coming through off that Widnes.
Loads have come through at Widnes.
A couple of the Saints first teamers, haven't they, come through at Widnes?
What I'm trying to say is, when Matt comes out and says, not everyone can have an academy, that is absolute bollocks, and I'll call IMG and Matt Dwyer out now on this show. That's bollocks, Matt, because when the RFL and Ralph Rimmer and the rest of the people were going round and taking elite academies off Castleford, Hull KR, Bradford, they said, you can have an academy. You can go through the college and university programmes. So there you go, Matt. Reward what is right. And if Lee wants to kick up a hissy fit about not having an academy, and Salford, or York, or Featherstone, do what you did to Bradford, Castleford and Hull KR. Why don't you link those Super League clubs who don't have an academy with the college system? Yeah. And it might not be a Category A academy, but it will be a Category B academy. And I have no issues. I have no issues on this programme, and I very much doubt a Bradford, Newcastle, London, or a Wakefield, or a Leeds, or a St Helens would have any problem if Lee want to link up with their local college, their local school systems, just like Halifax are doing with Calderdale College. They're running an academy system. Just like Barrow are, they're going down the college system with the Furness Academy up there on the Cumbrian Peninsula. Like York are doing. Is it York St John's, the college system there?
And Lee are actually starting that as well. And
that's good. And this is the whole point, because doing it like that and actually saying, there's, in my head, what's an acceptable point for an academy of junior development? 1 point. Take a point from performance. Take the point from performance and give that point, and like you said, Jimmy, incorporate the academy, the women's, the wheelchair, put it all in under performance, and I don't think anybody can have an issue. Because my worry, and this is what's really annoyed me and pissed me off to high heaven, is that, for instance, like you said, Jimmy, and you made a very good point, and you agreed, Joe, is that in the next 3 or 4 years, because, let's be honest, Bradford, there'll be a medium to strong B, but they're probably going to miss out. Same with Newcastle, same with London. But this is how absurd this current proposal is. And I don't care, clubs have phoned me up, but Mick, it's only 0.25 points. It's only 0.25, 0.5. It's worth half a point. That's bollocks. What IMG are saying is, they're trying to improve standards, and what they're saying is, a big screen and LED lights around the pitch, the advertisement boards, is more important than actually investing in the future of the sport, having an academy, having a reserves, having a scholarship, having those summer camps. This is not being rewarded in the IMG proposal. It's a travesty. No, listen.
No, best point.
People at the RFL are upset, are annoyed that I'm going on this sort of, not a one-man crusade, because I've got the
two-man crusade.
No, the clubs, a lot of what, like I said, a lot of, we do get used as mouthpieces in the media. That's quite right. On the stories we decide to run and publish and highlight. But this is first and foremost my independent thoughts and views. I just think it is absolute bollocks that IMG are giving points for clubs with a big screen or LED perimeter advertisement
Will you just clarify that? Because I don't understand. There's nothing in
There's
the
no
thing
points.
saying you get
There's
1
no
point
points.
for a big
There's no
screen.
Points for...
Yeah, you get 0.25 for a big screen. You get 0.25
if you own... Because Sky used to bring the big screens, didn't they?
No, we're on about your stadium having a big screen.
Right, you get 0.25 points.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, Jimmy, under the proposals,
and if you
LED
have
lights,
electric advertising,
you get another 0.25. So I'm saying you're getting up to half a point for having all these fancy things in your stadium.
Which I'm happy with. I've no issue with that.
I've no issue with it, but if they're rewarding junior development, it's the
junior development has to come above that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that's fundamentally why this is flawed. And
Yeah.
people are looking at it and thinking, what on earth are we doing here? Now, whether or not that's an oversight by Matt Dwyer and IMG.
Currently, there's I haven't seen through it, so I'm going off what you're telling me. Currently, in the point system, there is no points for anything youth related.
No.
The only reward is it's a minimum requirement for category A.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the point. What a lot of people do.
You and Dad do that.
No,
don't you?
listen.
Best point ever.
Listen, what a lot of people.
Golden point.
Golden.
What a lot of people do is.
You used to do a ring for good point, didn't you? Back in the day when
we'll
we did the
bell
Brian Noble one, you used to ring when someone made a good point. Ring.
But a lot of people fall into this trap. Oh, it's gobshite Mick. It's from a Bradford point of view. It's not from a Bradford point of view. I'm actually sticking up for Leeds, St Helens, Wigan, Warrington, Newcastle, London. I'm talking about every club that currently puts 6 figures plus into junior development. They should be rewarded.
So the very last thing on that is, last time we talked about AMG, there was a big focus on homegrown players. Now, obviously, that kind of intrinsically links with bringing academy through.
That's gone now.
So
homegrown is not.
That's gone.
That isn't even a thing that's been.
So
mentioned. So it's not even being covered in.
Let's have a conspiracy theory, and we might get into. Why is that gone, Mick? Give us a bit of conspiracy.
I think we know why that's gone. I think we know why that's gone.
Are we not allowed to? Because I'm being oblivious. I don't know.
I'll say it. I think the reason why there isn't academies in this current proposal is because it would favour a club like Bradford, it would favour a club like Newcastle, it would favour a club like London.
But
at the detriment of a Salford.
But what I thought they
Toulouse
wanted,
have an academy?
But no, I think no, not official. They use like
they've got youth development. They're in the French
league.
Yeah.
But
they're not like the Catalans who come and yeah.
I can't work out why that's gone, because I thought from the original IMG statements, you're saying because it goes against Bradford, London, the clubs that you mentioned. But from the original IMG statements, I interpreted that as they want them clubs in Super League. They're gonna find ways to push them to. They're gonna find ways to encourage Bradford, Newcastle to improve everything else, so they can put them in Super League.
Yeah.
Sorry, London, I don't want to.
Well, London in terms of catchment. Again, I need to clarify this because the catchment point is it's on the area. So what's defined as the city of London. Now, in terms of London itself, someone said to me the other day, well, London will just get done on the borough. So where they play at the minute is Wimbledon. Now, I need to double check that. So I'm not going to be confident sat here talking about that. But what I do know is, for instance, Newcastle Thunder, that'll be Newcastle. That ward includes Gateshead and other areas. But Newcastle are the only club there. So Newcastle should get a very good, healthy points from catchment. We know Bradford are going to get a lot of points because Bradford have only got Keighley and there's 800,000 people in the city of Bradford.
What about Dewsbury? Does Dewsbury not
Bradford, believe it or not, it runs from pretty much where Odsall is all the way up to Settle. So it includes places like Ilkley. It includes places like
BD Post.
Like Skipton.
But you know what's really interesting on catchment? If we go back to the original thing of it, a lot of beef is the fact that the only category being judged crossing over all 3 leagues is performance. But if catchment is being judged separate, I don't agree with that either, because what you're saying there is in the Championship where we have London and Newcastle, York get a few little bits, but London, Newcastle and Toulouse in the Championship. So the 5 points that are available in that league, you're talking about the 3 best new catchments there is. Whereas in Super League, I know there's Catalans, but then if everyone's been marked relative to each other's, then with the exception of Catalans, it's Yorkshire and Lancashire. Now in League One, we've got London and we've got Cornwall. Midlands as well. So do you see what I'm saying? For me, that category should also be judged across the board because...
Are we sure that isn't?
If you're saying it's only within the thing, then Lancashire and Yorkshire teams in Super League are going to potentially be able to score decent points Whereas everyone in the Championship, even Sheffield, who are geographically slightly outside, and Doncaster in League One, who are slightly outside, they're not going to be able to get many points because they're up against Newcastle, London Scholars, Cornwall. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I need to check on the London thing because I was told it will be on boroughs, which will, if that's correct, that will harm Scholars in London because you're not literally going on London as the city with 8-9 million people. You're going on where they play and their catchment area, which for London Broncos would be Plough Lane. For London Scholars, it will be Tottenham because they play in Tottenham on White Hart Lane.
Right.
But
we need to know more about that then.
So,
on the catchment, I need to chase that up.
That's not that you kind of missed Jimmy's answer. Jimmy's not answering about the boroughs. He's asking, is that judged within league again, or is that judged with just
where Wigan and Leigh are? Wigan and Leigh are in the same borough. They will lose points because they are close together.
But what happens if
Leeds and Hunslet?
What happens if Leigh got demoted? Would they be judged against each other, or would they be judged within the League of Championship?
Yeah, that's the
no. Catchment is looking at each club individually and what is around
it's not
there.
Done within league,
yeah,
then.
so that's not done. That's not just in the league.
No.
Yeah, so going back to the very start of the day, where the only thing being judged across the board was on-field performance. That's not true.
That's not true. Yeah.
No, catchment is done not in a league table
either.
It's not in any groups. No, catchment is literally
it's totally
looking at the club,
but it's independent of what level they're playing at. That's what I'm saying.
So Cornwall should pick up 2 points.
Yeah. Well, that's all right then. But at the start, you said that other than performance, everything else is relative to the league.
The pillars with the 25%. That's what I said.
So how much is catchment?
Right.
Catchment is only 2.
Oh, so the 25%.
So catchment is 10%.
Right, okay.
10%.
Stadium is 15.
Sound.
So finances.
So stadium and catchment are separate.
Finances, fandom, and performance. Finances and fandom, they're the ones where they're the little groups.
Yeah, okay.
And the 3 main pillars, just for avoidance of doubt, is performance, fandom, and finance.
They're 25% each.
That makes up 75% and 25% each. So there's 5 points for performance, 5 points for fandom, 5 points for finances. Finances and fandom, they're the ones where everybody's
relative to their league.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other 2 categories, which is 10% for catchment and 15% for stadia, they're are both totally independent. Yeah. So out of the 5 pillars, 3 of them are everybody being assessed independently, and 2 of them are relative to the league.
Yeah, which is what they're saying, the clubs are saying, and I totally get it, is those are the 3 main pillars, they should all be the same. You can't.
I disagree
but
with that.
But all right, so let me play devil's advocate. If you view it like this, 50% of the things they're looking at are relative to the league you're in, and 50% of things you're looking at are overall.
That's their way of differentiating the top clubs from a League One club, then, isn't it? That's what they do. That's what they've done, whether you agree with it or not.
I know, but listen, everyone's going to have their own opinion. Like the Super League clubs, quite rightly, will say, "Oh, well, no, we're happy with this because you could be in Super League, finish bottom, not win any games. You're going to get more points than the top team in the Championship."
But to be fair to Super League, I'll give him one thing, because I do agree with it a bit, but the one thing I will give him is there's not loads in there. If they both are judged within the leagues, if 50% is judged within the leagues, I think there has to be somewhere where Super League benefits, and IMG have obviously decided that's in performance other than any of the others, really.
And there have to be, because literally they are currently generally
the bigger
way better.
clubs,
So.
yeah.
But I think you could flip it and say that the fact that stadium and catchment, there's no benefit to the Super League teams, which is alongside with the fandom, it is half of everything that's been looked at. You know, I honestly think our suggestion of making on-field performance encapsulating the other teams, Academy would balance it out
100%.
perfectly.
Yeah, that has to be done.
I just cannot
We
believe.
found the answer. No,
I just cannot believe.
we found the answer.
Yeah, but you try getting that past the Super League.
I'm joking, I'm
we know where this is going.
Yeah, but there's only 2 Super League clubs that will majorly disagree, won't they?
Well, you'd probably have your
at the moment Leigh, Salford, and Catalans, maybe if you class them. But
you also have your
who am I
top Championship clubs who maybe with a bit of self-interest as well.
But we also need to say we are still speculating quite a bit. I've not read through that 50-page thing at all.
Oh, listen, the clubs themselves are still
it's just
a number of
clubs
need more information.
It's just our take,
because it's a lot to digest.
We found the answer.
Yeah, we found the answer without any real stats or evidence.
No, but what I'd like to say, what I fundamentally am appalled, and I think it's a little bit lunacy, is that you can basically get rid of your academy. And invest in a big screen and LED, and you get extra points.
Maybe that's what we. I'm sure that won't.
We have to find if that's fact or not, don't we? If that's fact, it needs. Yeah, but I'm saying
hypothetically that could happen, but we really hope that there's enough things.
No, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm just saying.
We know.
If it comes down to, and I had this argument with a chairman the other day, I said, look, there is a chance the points could be that close that a club who has an academy and is currently missing out could get rid of that academy, invest in a big screen and LED lights, and that extra little bit could get rid of it.
That's what you don't want to see.
I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but there is the possibility of that happening.
You don't want to see Bradford on the same points as Wakey, but because Wakey have got a big screen, they haven't got a big screen. I'm just saying this is all hypothetically being very. You don't want to see Wakey beat Bradford on the exact same points, but Wakey beat them by 0.25 or whatever it is because they've got a big screen. Even though, let me pick. I'll pick Lee out. I'll pick Lee out, someone who don't have a youth team at the moment. Yeah. You don't want to see Lee beat Bradford by 0.2 because they've got a big screen, but Bradford have the youth development. You don't want to see that.
You don't have to use Bradford, use Newcastle.
Yeah, well, either way, we know what we mean.
Teams are hypothetical. The point remains that you don't want to see a team have one team with a youth system and one team without. You don't want to see the ones without win because they've got a big screen.
No, you don't want that to be a difference. And let's be honest, when it comes to it, as we said a year ago, it's going to be so close. And there is going to be next to nothing between the club that gets in and the club that doesn't. So, there we go.
This is just going to go on and on for a couple more weeks. Again, I'd like to think that IMG would actually acknowledge that, what the clubs are saying to them, and I hope that happens.
I'm sure they are doing. I'm sure. I don't want to feel like we get.
Well, I don't know, Jimmy. On Wednesday, I'll tell you what. Wednesday, I was very deflated when the clubs are all calling after that initial consultation, and the feedback is, that we all, I won't name the clubs. Some of them think it's a stitch-up job.
But I also think this. My last point of IMG thing, we needed big change. I don't see how IMG have any ulterior motives here and there other than to make that all the work they're putting in and try and make it successful and try and get a return on their investment of time.
With the TV deal.
With ultimately getting a TV deal that's not going to be dropping. I just think they are. Yes, they'll need feedback from clubs and they'll need some people to nitpick here and there to help them, but they've no ulterior motive except they want it to be a success. So I've not seen personally any reason for me to be sceptical or critical of what IMG are doing. We're offering some suggestions here that on the face of it might be, something that could help in the way we view things. But, I've still got the trust in them that they are doing things for the right reason because they can't have any ulterior motive because there's no money to be made for a long time. So I'm happy. I'm happy.
Like you said, as long as they're willing to bend and shake a little. You've got to be happy because unless there is something incredibly dodgy going on, which I'm not implying they can't be. They just can't. They're only trying to do this so they get more money in the TV deals. That's the only way they make money. They're currently doing this essentially for free. Yeah. For free. They're doing all this proposal to genuinely try out the sport, whether they've got it right or wrong. They're doing it for free and they're trying to do it so they get more money in a couple of years' time with some good TV deals.
And they're going to have to make some big bold calls and they can't please everybody, and that's what it's going to come down to. It's
impossible. Exactly, because if you do put the academies in, then like I said, you're going to have certain clubs that aren't happy. Obviously, you've not got them in at the minute. So again, on the flip side, clubs that are investing money and time in junior development, junior pathway, they're not happy. They want it in, and you've got a bit of a situation where hopefully.
Just depends what IMG care about. We obviously care.
These are just proposals. These are just proposals.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that these are going to change. So you'll see a second round of proposals where
tweaks, slight tweaks.
Yeah. I think fundamentally you've got pretty much, what the template's going to be. It's how you tweak the template and what you put in and what you take out. Move
a percentage here and there and stuff.
Yes. So basically, please don't take offence to anything we've said. These are just our personal opinions.
Yeah.
We love youth development. We're very passionate about the youth systems. That's why we're putting so much. Obviously, other clubs don't care about it, but definitely have different views on that.
It's prioritising.
So this all just depends on, at the end of the day, what IMG think will get the most profit in the most money given from TV deals with whomever company we go with. So at the end of the day, like Jimmy said,
and they might be thinking, look, for the short term, youth development can take a slight backseat because we need to address making this product saleable in 12 months' time. And then nailed it there, and as Jim, as things go on, they might be like, right now you need to do this because now they need an immediate fix because the deals are
immediate fix.
No, but all right, I know, but you can. They're trying to just make it a bit better so that we don't get half the money off Sky, and then we're really up shit creek. So it's just what they're thinking, perhaps, is the short-term strategy.
You probably nailed it.
And then the longer-term.
But then the classic thing is, IMG, if that is the case, I'd completely back you if you came out and said, well, not that I have power, but I would be completely in support of what IMG said. If they come out and said that and said, guys, for the moment, we need to get the best TV deal. I'm so sorry about youth development. We do care about it. In the long-term plans, we're 100% going to put a lot of things in place, but at this moment, other things take priority. If they came out and said that, I'd be like, let's go get that TV deal first.
And I think that's why clubs like Lee are working behind the scenes to get their academy and our relationship with the
colleges.
The colleges, and we've got the local. We've got Minus Rangers, and
I don't mind what York Barrow do
because
they've provided some brilliant players so far, and they still are getting players through year on year.
There's different ways to do it, but
as long as you do something.
Just on the TV deals, obviously the EFL rights are up, so that is why there's a lot of focus on them rather than the Rugby League. We're down the pecking order, so we've just got to wait and hope and pray. Channel 4 want to show more games, but at the moment they don't want to pay for it. So, we had Leeds and Catalans on Saturday, a fantastic game. Good comeback by Leeds in the second half. But, then there's no monetary value to the competition for that being on there. It's free to air and it's that exposure. The hope is the exposure, but, the problem is, with the Sky deal being 24 million at the minute, if that decreases... I'm not saying it is, by the way, but if that does decrease, then we all read Michael Carter's points, the departing Wakefield CEO last week. He thinks the deal will go down and we're heading to part-time. That would indicate that we have passed the point of no return. And IMG, they would have a very, very tougher job because not every club has a Ken David, a David Hughes, a Simon Moran, a Seymour Coody up at Newcastle. But not every club has that person. So if you're reducing the pie even more, then the clubs are going to struggle more and the product's just going to suffer as a consequence. So we've got...
have your answer why they're not bothered about long-term things and more...
I genuinely think...
No, I've just not thought that's... We've answered the question of why they don't...
The Sky deal is up for renegotiation.
Now. It ends this year. So if Sky don't renew...
So just forget what we've argued about, it all makes sense.
They've got to get us... IMG have got to pull off a minor miracle and get a good price off Sky.
In that case, for this year, you probably do incentivise good stuff and a big screen.
I disagree. I strongly disagree.
Not in the long-term view, but for this current TV
I strongly disagree. You've got to have junior development academy in there at all costs.
You do, of course. I'm not
because
saying...
otherwise... You can have fantastic stadiums with big screens and LED lights, but you've not got the players to play.
But you're thinking long term. But for this year alone, I kind of get it.
I do think that IMG have got to go in there with Sky, and we've got to hope that IMG convince Sky that, look, we're going to go like this. So give us the same again for another couple of years and back us. That Sky, you're going to have to back IMG.
They're back 10 or else. You've got to hope we get some...
Joe, you can't compare NRL to what we've got here. We've got an inferior
I never
product.
said that.
The
What I'm saying,
potential is,
I'm saying the backed NRL, the backed Super League, the backed Rugby League as a sport somewhere. So you've got to
IMG,
as in the EFL, the lower league. They've kind of that's boosted that. So maybe with the backing of NRL, we get a.
Yeah, IMG just have to go look at the. IMG are just going to go.
I don't think we'll get any spruce from their love.
No. I think we're staring down the barrel. This is D-Day. In my head, I genuinely think the split at Salford was D-Day, and we are probably facing oblivion. But I want to do this show and be negative and positive, and I want hope. But everything Michael Carter said in his interview is certainly ringing true in certain circles in rugby league. A lot of people seem to suggest
but that's why we need a man. We need a man of miracle from IMG.
That's why we need big screens. That's why we need fans.
No. I disagree. I disagree. Listen.
Fandom.
I disagree. Big screens do not sell the sport and do not get us more money. Having a product on the field with players of quality and substance and close games and entertaining games gets you the deal. At the minute, Sky are being raped by Rugby League because they are not getting value for money.
But I'm saying that's for slightly longer. The long-term plan is to improve everything and to follow the NRL.
I agree, Jimmy. I agree.
Yeah, but I'm saying at the moment, we can't really sell on what we've got currently. We need IMG to go, look, see the NRL, that's what we're chasing. And we're here to get us following in that direction and getting us more like that. And Sky have to go, oh, go on then. We'll give you the same money for 2 more years. But if it don't happen, it's all over.
I'm going back to what Ralph Rimmer said. He said Rugby League is on notice from Sky. That was on this current deal. What has improved in the last 2 years? Nothing.
No, we know that, but I'm saying that's why we're hoping IMG.
That's why I'm saying some of these things are more short term than longer term. That's what Jimmy's saying, that some of these things that we've gone, why is it so this and that?
There's nothing short term about any of this. This is the blueprint for the future of the sport for the next 12 years. It's a 12-year partnership with IMG.
It's a partnership, but this is for the current 2 or 3 years of when they first do this grading. It's not going to be... I imagine there's not one thing where you implement a certain way and they don't make adjustments to it year on year. That's for now. That's for now. When I get it.
This is the immediate one, which you don't imagine anything will change drastically, but we will constantly tweak it as hopefully as things get bigger and better.
Now we're chucking in 0.5 for if you've got a youth team in a year or two. We've got the deal. We've got this. Now in the
it might be every time in 5 years' time. Hopefully, every time you take one of your home games on the road to a new city or a new area, you get rewarded for that. But IMG, you've got to go in with Sky and get Sky. For me, this deal is all about Sky trusting IMG's rep and what they've done with others, that they are going to improve a product, improve a sport, so that even if Sky pay over the odds by basically offering the same as they did last time, in the short term, they've still got the product. So hopefully in 5 years' time, Sky get the reward because the game's bigger and better, and IMG have saved us.
And
I admire the optimism.
The one positive is a lot of the numbers have actually been quite good this year in the Super League. Than in respect of St Helens have done record numbers, Leeds are doing well. A lot of the teams doing pretty well. Attendance-wise.
Yeah, but TV figures are down.
Oh, are they?
Yes. People are switching off from the sport.
I'll shut up.
Because of the product.
Yeah. Is that a fact? I don't know.
Yes, TV figures are down.
From last year?
Yeah. The phrase they used was stagnant/declining.
From last year, that's bad because I got the vibe that we're doing well. Maybe I'm just more engrossed.
No, the problem is, Joe. You no offence, you get caught up in this sort of Super League bubble of everything's rosy and but from people like me and Jimmy who know the Championship and League One, and we're on the outside, we just see how stale Super League is as a product. I mean,
I would rather watch your arse, Mick. I'm watching loads of Championship.
I would rather watch Widnes versus Toulouse, which was end to end.
I did miss a single Cornwall game last year on our league. I did not miss a single Cornwall game. How many did you watch from Cornwall in League One? I watched them all. I watch every single game I can.
It was a joke, and you've took it to heart.
It hurts me, Mick.
If I sneak off, no one will notice.
It hurts me when you.
But no, let us know in the comments what you think. Am I personally barking up the wrong tree, wanting junior development, academies to be awarded. I certainly agree.
We all
Leave
agree.
it, John.
Sorry,
Leave it. Wrap it up.
I'm wrapping it up. Jesus,
Wrap it up.
I'm asking the fans to comment. Oh my God. Listen, we'll see you next week.